Shalom WJC family. It's time for our weekly Torah Talk. I want to talk this week as we read Parshat Mishpatim, the legal code that follows the revelation at Mount Sinai, about a specific law that comes strangely in the midst of the laws of how we are to treat our parents. Chapter 21 verse 15 tells us, Umakeh aviv imo, someone who strikes his mother or father, mot yumat, will be put to death. And verse 17 tells us, Umikalel aviv imo, mot yumat, he who insults or really like curses his father or mother will surely be put to death. Okay, so we understand the respect due to parents in this society. We also know from later on that these kinds of punishments were rarely, if ever, meted out in reality among the cities of Israel. Later we'll get in Deuteronomy the law of the ben sorer umoreh, the wicked and rebellious son who talks back to his parents. And the Talmud tells us this was never carried out, basically. It was limited by so many particulars that it would never be meted out, and that it's there really for principle. So what's the principle? The principle is that this connection between child and parent, or parent and child, is so important, so intimate, so intense, that if the child breaks it, the child should be punished. Right in the middle of those two laws, we have something that seems to be, unrelated. 15, we have, he who strikes his father or mother shall be put to death. 17, he who insults his father or mother shall be put to death. And in between, 16, Vigonev ish umecharo v'nimsa biado mot yumat. He who kidnaps a person, whether he has sold him or he's found still in his possession, that person shall be put to death. So it raises a couple of questions. One, what does that have to do, the taking captive of a person, with the laws of how we treat our fathers and mothers, how we treat our parents? One. Two, this is the only case of theft that is punished by death. Right? When you steal an object, you're not punished by death. You might be punished by having to pay 4 or 5 times the value of the object if you took the object and it was destroyed somehow or lost forever. But kidnapping is the only punishment, taking of a person, that is punished by death. So 2 questions. How does this relate to parents, and why is it punished in particular by death? And of course, this is not just an academic conversation to have in this moment as we pray for the hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza, that they should be released after over now 120 days in these terrible airless tunnels. So what's going on here? So one commentator seems to sense the question, Ibn Ezra, and he says, what's going on here? Actually, this person is being kidnapped when they're young, and they're going to grow up not knowing their parents, such that when they meet them as adults one day, they won't recognize them, and they might be ultimately the kind of people who they'll strike that person who they meet, who they don't know is their father and mother, or they'll insult this person who they don't know is their father and mother. And because the responsible party is the kidnapper, is the one who took them, that person gets punished with this death penalty for insulting parents or striking parents. It's a very novel, very elegant approach. It seems also a bit far-fetched. However, Ibn Ezra may be onto something, right? That ultimately, when someone is taken, they are forever changed. And presumably the longer they spend in captivity, the more changed they will be. It doesn't matter if they were taken as kids or they were taken as adults, right? Ultimately, the person who has been held captive is changed, is traumatized, will never be the same as they were before they were taken. And therefore, that relationship with their parents and everyone else, but here they're showing, and in Judaism we often sense, in Jewish law and Jewish culture, that a child's relationship, even an adult child's relationship with his parents, is a paramount relationship, that ultimately that relationship will have changed, and that trauma could manifest in all kinds of ways, right? Like, some kind of PTSD or, traumatic reaction and stress that would make them more likely to strike out at their parents. So that's the simplest form, is that this person is going to be responsible for whatever broken relationship or whatever might be broken in the relationship between parent and child in the future. But even further, I would say that this taking of a child is an insult, is like a strike against the parents. That through the child they are attacking the parents, they are hurting the parents, and because of that, this kidnapper is held liable like a child who insulted their parents or struck their parents. Because the truth is, the damage is not just done when someone is taken captive to the captive. And I can't even imagine the kind of abuse and the kind of damage that is being done. I try not to. I pray for their well-being, their health. They should be made whole. And ultimately, they should live and be well and have a life of blessings. But whatever happens with the captives, the pain is not only theirs. And having been to Israel the week before last, having met with two parents of hostages and heard their stories, two parents of three hostages, a mother speaking to us about her son, and a father speaking to us about his two sons, all of whom captured, all of whom remain in Gaza today. The strike against these parents is real, and the damage being done by these hostage takers to the parents is real. Torture. The torture is enough to go around, and we feel it. Those of us who are wrapped up in this terrible situation, we feel it every day. When I was in Israel, the entire country of Israel feels this pain every day. It is the strike against the fabric of family, the strike against the fabric of community that is ultimately the insult here. And in that way, the taking of a person is never just the taking of a person. It is always a way to get at the people who love that person, the community of which that person is a part, and most intimately the family, and even more than that, the parents. And it is for that reason that the Torah places this command sandwiched between these two concepts of the relationship between a parent and a child, and what that is supposed to be like, and the responsibilities of the parent to the child. And it is for that reason that the punishment is so severe, because it is not one person who is being hurt. It is not three people that is being hurt. This is a crime that's against an entire people, against an entire nation. The security that's been taken, the fabric of the society that has been cut. And so we pray ultimately that the hostages are released, that they see the light of day, that they again stand on the soil of their native home, of the land of Israel, and are no longer held in the tunnels of Gaza. And we pray for the healing and the redemption of all those involved in this terrible nightmare, the parents, the families, the neighbors, the communities. Our hearts are with you. Our hopes are with you. And we pray that this Shabbat should be a Shabbat, finally, for the first time in months, a Shabbat of peace for all. Shabbat Shalom.